Hey everyone, it's Blair here at Time Trades. Thanks for joining me in this week's video. I want to go over our usual stocks and crypto, like starting with Bitcoin. So let's get into it. And instead of starting with Time Trades, let's take a look at TradingView, because one of the things that we've done over the past week with Time Trades and TradingView is that we've created a new GAN wave script, and I will include a link to that script in the description to the video. But here we are, we're looking at Bitcoin daily with the GAN wave script turned on. This is currently available. If you have the link, it will become an invite-only script once the beta period for Time Trades ends. I don't know when that's going to be. I'll announce it in a video when beta ends and it starts to become a paid service. But anyways, the interesting thing from the TradingView standpoint with, and again, this is with the new GAN waves turned on, that's what the yellow and blue periods represent, is just the strength of Bitcoin. Now you can see here the trend line that I drew. Now, I don't use trend lines a heck of a lot. I probably should use them more than I do. But this one was interesting because this also had some astronomy-based time periods that bracket either end of it. And that made it extra significant to me that Bitcoin was able to punch through this, this trend line really only on its second try down here. The other thing I look for when I see breakouts like this is I look for volume and also on balance volume. That's this indicator down here. On balance volume is confirming this breakout. So you can see as price is making higher highs, on balance volume is as well. The last time on balance volume was this high was over here on May 18th, just in the middle of the big dump. So we definitely are seeing a strong move. It's backed by volume. It is punching through resistance levels like this trend line. It punched through this resistance level at 43,200. That's the 24 line. So all systems are go for a continued Bitcoin move up. Now let's take a look at what Time Trades has to say about this. Now, one of the things we see in Time Trades is basically there's a new regime in town. So when you take a look at the GAN wave periods, the time leading up to the May dump had a lot of price corrections during the yellow period here, okay? And then those sort of petered out during this basing time frame from June to July. And now we're starting to see pumps during the yellow period. And we haven't seen that since, December, right? So we go back in time, we can see like December, November, October. So this is significant, right? And this indicates a change in trend, a change in regime, in addition to the traditional technical confirmations that we see in things like volume and resistance. So one of the things that we see here is price going up. We don't see any real forecast moves of price going up. And this happens sometimes, especially when you've got a big move, big predicted move down that declines. So sometimes the reverse of these predicted moves down end up becoming moves up. And I had talked in last week's video about this potentially being an inversion. And what we're seeing is kind of on the backside of this predicted move down, as the strength of that declines, price is just blasting up into it. Okay, so we've got a very small probability, 5% probability high up here on August 12th. I don't put a whole lot of importance to probabilities that high. And, but it's still something to note. The next biggest pivot is down here, August 23rd. So how do we interpret this? Well, I think given the technicals, Bitcoin is not going to do a U-turn and go straight down into August 23rd. That's obviously not going to happen with all of the price momentum that we're seeing. What we could see is a continued move up, and I'll turn on 24 lines here. Well, I think what is more likely is a continued move up into an area between these two 24 lines. At this point, we're sort of halfway to the next 24 line at 48K. So that's definitely acting as a magnet now. And then I think once we get up into this range between 48 and into the low 50s, then we can start seeing some two-way range trading, and this pivot low would start to exert some pull. So this could be a correction in time, or it could be a correction in price. I think it's more likely that it's going to be a correction in time, because I'm not seeing a heck of a lot of high probability moves down here in the time period leading up to this pivot low. So if I were to interpret this and kind of create a little roadmap for the next couple of weeks, obviously continue to move up on the strength of the technicals and the volume confirmation. And then, maybe a pause starting later this week with some two-way sideways corrective action, not necessarily a deep price pullback, but just a correction in time until we get to this August 23rd, 24th period. And then that's when we start to see some more bullish forecasts of up days. So then that can push us up into the next pivot high in early September. So that's how I'd interpret the Bitcoin chart right now. The other thing too is if you turn on the short-term waves, so let's just do this here. So by turning on short-term waves, what I like to look for is, are there any inflection points coming up, right? Because we see here that, when light blue tends to make a bottom and dark blue tends to make a bottom or a top, when either of these make a pivot or change direction, then that tends to be a signal. It doesn't happen all the time, but more often than not. So that's definitely something to be aware of. But what I'm seeing in short-term waves is that there's no inflection points in the near term. Okay, so light blue, dark blue, they're both trending down. Same with yellow, that's trending down. The thing with yellow too is you got to be aware of when it starts to get a little bit closer to the zero line here. Then that does also tend to coincide with some drops. Like right about here, you can see how yellow here, as it was declining below this level, coincided with the May drop. And yellow won't be below that level until we get to August 30th or so. So I just brought up short-term waves because I wanted to interpret those as well. And again, they're confirming this continued bullish stance, and hopefully we can all take advantage of this this bull trend for the next few weeks. All right, so I also want to take a look at stocks. Let's go over to the Dow. I want to touch on the Dow, I want to touch on the spiders, and I want to touch on the Qs. Okay, so the Dow, like just a general comment on all stocks. I mean, breadth is horrible. It's really just a narrow market driven by a few big names and a bunch of small companies that are just kind of along for the ride. So one of the things that I look for in this is, again, anchoring the interpretation on the pivots. So the next big pivot in the Dow is August 11th. Okay. So that's coming up. That's something to be aware of. And you might be wondering, okay, why are short-term waves here so squiggly on stocks? They were much smoother on Bitcoin, and there's a simple explanation for that. It's weekends. So the squiggles that you're seeing are weekends. And Bitcoin, of course, doesn't take any days off, but obviously with stocks, we're only showing trading days. Okay, so August 11th, we've got a 21% probability of a pivot high in the Dow. That's not something we can just brush off and ignore. It's not like a 5% probability. So let's go take a look at spiders. Okay, so for the S&P 500, we've got no pivot highs coming up, and we've got what looks like to be some continued bullish momentum here, but we do have a pivot low August 23rd. So what does this mean? Well, it's totally possible that we could pivot this week and start moving lower down into these pivots. And remember, whenever I see a situation like this where I see moves up into a pivot low, I tend to put the priority on the pivot low, right? Because they are on average more accurate measures in time trades. Okay, so something to be aware of. We've got a potential for a pivot high in the Dow. We've got on August 12th, we've got potential pivot lows in the spiders on August 23rd. And let's close the video with a quick look at the Qs. Okay, so the big thing in the Qs that I'm looking at right now is this 20% probability of a 2 standard deviation move up for Monday. So what Time Trades is forecasting is a big pop up in the Qs. So we'll see if that happens. Who knows? Maybe it'll end up being a pop down. But I am anticipating this, but then after that, the forecast gets pretty quiet. The next big thing that happens is August 16th, and we've got a 32% probability of a 1 standard deviation move down. And again, same thing with the short-term waves. There's no major inflection points coming up in the near future. The first one is dark blue crossing 0 at the end of August. And then after that, we've got light blue making a low September 9th. So those are a couple of events we need to be aware of coming up. But for now, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you had a great week trading, and good luck next week. Thank you.